Hello, welcome back to Story Molder. I'm Vern. Today's story is entitled EP Goes to Grandma's. Epaminondas had a loving and kind grandma. She was also very generous. Every day, he visited her and she always gave him something to take home with him. He loved his grandma and her cooking. He ate his fill while he was there, but she always gave him a take-home plate filled with seconds to eat later. For sure, Grandma would not let him leave empty-handed. One day, when Epaminondas went to see his grandma, she was baking a cake. He loved everything she cooked, but especially her cake. She gave him a big, huge slice to eat while he was there. Then, as he was leaving, Grandma said, "Epaminondas, take a slice of the cake home to your mommy." He picked up the cake in his little hands and held it tightly so as not to drop it. He ran all the way home. When his mom saw him with the cake clutched in his hand, she said, "What's that, EP?" His mom called him EP for short. "It's cake that Grandma sent you, Mommy." "Cake? EP? That's not the way to carry a cake. When your grandma gives you cake, put it in your hat, put your hat on your head, and then come home. You hear me, EP?" "Yes, ma'am." The next time Epaminondas went to his grandma's house, she was churning butter. She gave him a pound of fresh butter to carry to his mom. Epaminondas said to himself, "What was that Mama told me to do?" "Oh, yeah, you got it. I know. She said, put it in my hat and put the hat on my head and then come home. Okay, I'll do just that. I'll do what my mommy told me to do." Epaminondas put the pound of butter in his hat. He put his hat on his head. Then he went on home. It was sweltering hot that day, and quickly the butter began to melt. Drip, drip, drip. It oozed down the side of his head into his ears. Drip, drip, drip. It oozed down his forehead into his eyes. Drip, drip, drip. It oozed down his neck and all down his back. When Epaminondas reached home, he had no butter left in his hat. It was all on him. His mom looked at him curiously and said, "EP, what in the world is that dripping from your hat?" "Butter, Mommy. Grandma sent it to you." "Butter? Oh, no." "Oh, EP, that is not the way to carry butter. You have to wrap it in cabbage leaves. Take it to the lake. Then you must cool it in water, and cool it in water. When you have done that, take the butter in your hands and then come on home. You hear me, EP?" "Yes, ma'am." The next time Epaminondas went to see his grandma, she wasn't baking cakes and she wasn't churning butter. She was sitting in her easy chair knitting. She said, "Epaminondas, look in the garage. You'll see something you'll like." Epaminondas looked in the garage, and there he found 4 little cute puppies. Oh, so cute. They were jumping all over him and wagging their tails, just wagging and hopping and heaving and just jumping all over him. They knocked him to the garage floor, and he giggled and giggled and giggled, and he was having so much fun that he really did not want to leave. In the afternoon, when it was time for him to go home, his grandma gave him a surprise. She said, "Here, take one of the puppies home with you." He could not control his joy. He jumped up and down and he screamed, "Really? Oh, thank you, Grandma. Thank you so much." And gave her a big old bear hug, almost knocking her to the floor. They both embraced each other and almost both falling to the floor in laughter. Epaminondas remembered what his mom had told him. He wrapped the puppy in a big cabbage leaf and took it to the lake. He cooled it in water and cooled it in water and cooled it in water. He took it in his hands and then went on home. When his mother saw him, she said, "E.P., what is that in your hands?" "Why, the puppy was shivering in a ball." "It's a puppy dog, Mommy." "A puppy dog," cried his mom. "Oh, E.P., what makes you act so foolish? That's not the way to carry a puppy. The way to carry a puppy is to loosely tie a string around his neck and put him on the ground to walk. You take the other end of the string in your hand and then gently lead him on home. You hear me, E.P.?" "Yes, ma'am." Epaminondas was determined to do the right thing next time. He got a piece of string and put it in his pocket to have it ready. The next day, Epaminondas' mom had guests for dinner. She discovered that she had no bread for dinner. She said, "E.P., run to Grandma's house and ask her to send me a loaf of bread for my dinner." "Yes, ma'am," and he ran off. Grandma gave him a nice brown crusted loaf of bread right out of the oven. This time, Epaminondas was definitely going to do what his mom had told him to do. He proudly pulled that string out of his pocket and tied it to the loaf of bread. He put the loaf of bread on the ground, took the other end of the string in his hand, then went home dragging the bread behind him. When he got home, his mother looked at the thing that was tied to the end of the string. She said, "What is that? What have you brought me, E.P.? What have you brought home?" "This is the bread that Grandma sent you." "Oh, E.P., E.P., how could you be so foolish? Now I have no bread for dinner. I have to go get it myself," said his mom. She went into the house, got her hat. When she came out, she said, "E.P., now listen. Do you see those pies over there? There are 3 apple pies that I put over there on the steps to cool. Well, now listen, and I want you to hear me clearly. E.P., you be very careful where you step. You hear me, E.P.?" "Yes, ma'am." His mom went off down the road. Epaminondas went to the door and looked out. He said, "Mommy told me to be very careful where I step on those apple pies, so I must be very careful how I do that. I'll step right in the middle of every one of them." And he did. Of course, when his mom came home, there were no pies for dinner. Now, she was very angry from her head to her toes, and something happened. I don't know what happened, and you don't know either, but we can guess what happened. Poor Epaminondas, E.P. for short. With all his good intentions, he just kept trying but could not get it right. This is a story, a funny fable that was originally published in 1911. It's been adapted to reflect race-neutral characters. Some of the focus of this story is not only to listen carefully and to follow direction, but also to make logical decisions. EP goes to Grandma. Thank you for stopping by and listening to another one of my stories. Come back as often as you like. I'll be happy to have you. Goodbye for now.